Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every question there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Conker's back-to-back wins are certainly a bright note to start on for his team, but the joy is dampened by a penalty for causing a caution, sending Josh to the back of the field today at the start. With Rockingham being a treacherous place, will it wind up costing him? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director and Simmy Award winner Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Without seeing Rockingham on the NASCAR schedule for some years now, some of our viewers might not be as familiar with it. Let's head to our track guide to learn a bit more.
Under beautiful Carolina blue skies sits the Rockingham Speedway, also known as The Rock. The fierce competition on the Speedway is what gives The Rock its name. This 1 mile oval has been thrilling fans for over 30 years, with 22 degrees of banking and a tough-on-tires surface. On top of the surface being a tire killer, the Rockingham Speedway is also one of the bumpiest tracks that you'll find out there. The yellow line is the best and fastest way around this place on fresh rubber. Planting those left side tires around the bottom in 1 and 2 is one of the most satisfying feelings. Down there on the yellow line, the bumps are minimal, and you really get this sensation of being shot out of a cannon when you come screaming on a turn 2, up out of that corner, down the backstretch. Patience around the rock is the name of the game. Rockingham kind of reminds me of Darlington Raceway in that sense, that you show up here and you race the racetrack, not necessarily the competition. The fastest drivers here are often the slowest to the throttle. Maintaining proper traction and low tire wear is currently and historically the best way to find victory lane here at this legendary facility. Rockingham is a throwback to the old ways of auto racing. Dig hard, elbows up, and be smart about it. Racing here just feels different. You'll see today the racers enjoy it and very often put on some of the best shows at this old track. This has been our guide to the Rockingham Speedway. Enjoy the show.
This one isn't a track that shows up as often on our schedules, DJ, but it should put on a good show tonight, so I'm eager to see what kind of action we get.
I am too, Joe, and it coming in at just over a mile. Rockingham Speedway is going to function almost like a short track, which means one of the biggest things that drivers are going to have to watch out for here today is going to be that lapped traffic that they come up on. Traditionally, the low line is preferred around here, although you can take it high if you are very aggressive, but the big storyline are the bumps. Drivers are constantly going to have to be sawing on that wheel, making sure that they are pointed the right direction. It's going to be very tricky. It's going to be very bumpy, and it's going to be very exciting.
No doubt about that. But before we get to the racing itself, we want to mention that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Cup Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, as we take a look at the championship for this series, as I mentioned, Josh Conker, with 2 wins on the trot, has himself a handy gap here with Eric Papineau, Byron McDonald, and Tom Massey following them up shortly after. But Josh has been the man to beat so far with the pace in this new car. What about in the team's championship?
Well, Joe, in that team's championship, it is private label Team Hype at the top, barely edging out their sister team by 7 points of private label Team Hype Black. Carm Ramrod, a good ways back from them, 34 points, so a lot of room to make up for them. But Love Racing, only 2 points back from them, and Dirty South Racing, only about 8 points back from them. So a lot of good battles there shaping up, both for first and for third.
As for today's race details, we are in round 3, 200 laps, though, that they're going to have to do around this place with how quickly they do get around these high banks. And they have 5 total tires, as always, which will be important today, I imagine, because the way this track eats up tires at times. Still a fixed setup, and they don't have a spare car, which we're expecting a little bit of damage to happen out here, so some drivers may have to try and come in and get that beat away upon, as we also have the 24 incident limits, at which point they will be disqualified. Got just about a minute and some change left here in the warm-up. Then we're heading off into the qualifying session. And it's actually pretty decent racing conditions for the drivers out there today at about 88 Fahrenheit. So hopefully that should help them somewhat with what should be a tricky one in terms of car handling, I'm sure.
Yeah, indeed. That 88 degrees is right about in that Goldilocks zone. 2 miles an hour worth of wind coming out of the north, and that's not really going to be a whole lot of a factor. 49% humidity, rather, which means that there's going to be a decent amount of air for these cars to cut through. That means the draft, as it is, will be a little bit more effective, a little bit more downforce to be able to be generated by these next-gen NASCARs. So pretty much just about the perfect conditions to go racing here at Rockingham, Joe.
Absolutely. Now, we have a few drivers that will not be allowed to qualify due to penalties. A good chunk of them, unfortunately, did come from Talladega, as there were those that did not call the favor of the stewards, unfortunately. But look out for Mike Witt, Joao Guerra, CM Pennington, Josh Conker, who I mentioned, Barron Hilton, Matthew Long, Greg Wilson, Ryan Goodell, and Andrew Payne to not be able to take to the track here in the qualifying session, which is just about kicking off. They'll get 2 laps around to try and set their fastest time, and that will set the grid today. So let's see who's got the 1-lap pace here in this fixed setup. As it looks like we're just getting the first couple cars out on the track.
Yeah, indeed, we are. And Joe, I would anticipate as we hop on board with Taylor Burris here, I would anticipate drivers probably not trying to go all out for their first lap, maybe running a little bit high, carry some momentum around, and then once they get onto that second lap, really hug down onto that yellow line and try to get as much speed as possible.
Right now, riding with Taylor, who's riding about a middle line, so not exactly going all the way up high. Let's see here now that he's out there, and yeah, he's following your advice, staying up high through 1 and 2 as we ride on the nose, watching him head down Thunder Alley through the backstretch and into 3 and 4, and yeah, through 3 and 4 also way up to the top of the track.
Yeah, and that just allows him to keep that high speed up. Now watch him to dive down a little bit lower here. No, he's surprising me. He's going for full speed the entire time. A little bit of a later apex there on the corner. You can see just how much he's having to control up there with the bumps going down through Thunder Alley. Now driving it in through, doing the iRacers lean. Here he goes, and he is at the top of the charts right now, but what's he going to have crossing over?
Second lap. Does not go quicker, though. 0.2 slower that time. And his pole finally overtaken as Pat Harvey, the first one to go quicker. Trent Dinkle now tops him. Trent only 13 thousandths off of Pat Harvey. Looks like Papineau improved on his second lap. He goes on to row 2 just ahead of Taylor Burris. Trent Dinkle there you see parks it after his 2 laps are done, but we're still waiting on about half the field, so that plenty could change here in these last 3 minutes.
Indeed, Josh Daniels taken to the apron there, trying to get a good time, and a good time he does get. In fact, it's a pole time as he is able to get to that fastest lap there. Charles Sumner only good enough for second. Pat Harvey there, as we said, in second there, and Chris Hudson moves his way up to P3.
Also waiting on James O'Brien as well. Remember, he is one of the ones that has been following his teammate home in both the races, so I'm sure he'd love to try and get a pole and maybe take that thing to victory lane today as we watch Bob Clement come across, still yet to get his first time on the board. I'm watching O'Brien cross. He's just starting his first flyer too. Looks like Clement's first lap going to be good enough for 21st as he now takes it down through 3 and 4 in that 927 machine. 24.085 is nearly a second off of the pole time. Is this going to be any closer? Yes, it is. 0.4 quicker. That's good enough for 17th.
Taylor Stout bumps his way up into 9th place. Surprisingly, Abner Acosta only good enough for 6th. I just saw James O'Brien bump his way up into 9th. That's a good time. Adam Zemke, who we ride on board with, car Ramrod driver, he currently sits in 17th, but he's got 1 more lap to go.
Gonna ride the middle line, it looks like. Just a lane above the bottom as he comes across. Zemke good enough for 17th last time. Second time, a 10th quicker, but it's only going to get him up to 14th. O'Brien goes faster. He only goes to 7th as well. Does not seem to be the track for the 9, despite his pace elsewhere. And that is the last of our qualifiers, I think, as I'm looking down the list of those who have not qualified, and many of them are going to be given EOL, so they won't be heading out there anyway. And that means that our grid is set here today. So let's go through our starting order. Josh Daniels will be on the pole with Pat Harvey to his outside. Luke Christian, good enough for third place, followed by Chris Hudson. A lot of fresh faces this season that are looking like they're quick here. Trent Dinkle starts from fifth as Abner Acosta puts it in P6. And it's James O'Brien in seventh, as we mentioned, followed by Eric Papineau in eighth. And then row 5 has Patrick Cowgill and Taylor Stout to round them out.
Starting off in 11th, it'll be Taylor Burris, followed by Waldo Walden, with Danny Cervantes 13th and Adam Zemke behind him. Charles Sumner will be on the inside of row 8, followed by Richard Regan Jr., with Mark Kalin and Robert Besaw Jr. lining up behind them. 19th, it'll be Bob Clement, and Skip Gandy rounds out your top 20.
And 21st, it is James Durr, followed by Jose Medina in 22nd. After that, last two to set times is Daniel Alley in 23rd and Tom Massey in 24th. As we mentioned, McDonald, Hilton, Ladon, Long, Guerra, Pennington, Conker, Witt, and Goodell will be gridded at the back of the field today. Not a death knell to your race, but certainly going to make it tough around a place like Rockingham. You know, it struck me as interesting, DJ, that we had drivers that were riding that high line there. Is this maybe a bit like Sebring, where the bumps make it more ideal to maybe try a non-traditional line?
Very well could be the case here, Joe, but you don't really get as many bumps on the lower side of the track. It's really in the middle line that you get a lot of them, and then coming back through Thunder Alley, that's where you want to go a little bit lower on the track. As you go down the backstretch here, it gets very, very bumpy up by the wall, so could be a little bit of the bumps. It could just be a little bit of alternate strategy. Some drivers just prefer to put that car on the high side, and that's where they go.
Now let's take a look at our onboard cams for tonight, and we'll start off with Josh Conker in the 54. He'll be starting from 25th position. Here's Josh. Typically gives us a nice perspective for the race with his little setup. There you see him for Team Hype, trying to come from the back of the grid. Taylor Burris, who we saw a little bit earlier during the practice, good enough for 11th there with that first lap, with his green screen ready to go here today. And then, of course, we got Charlie Sumner joining us, and Charlie starting from 15th on the grid, so right about in the mid-pack, not too far back from what we have with Taylor Burris. And finally, we have Trent Dinkle, who's been showing us his camera for some seasons now. He'll be starting the highest of those with a camera today, up in 5th. So the 501 positioned well here as we get ready to go behind the pace car for our pace laps. In fact, it seems that Trent is raring to go as he is already edging his way forward. And there is our combination of cams today. All right, I'm looking forward to this one. I always love when we get to these tracks that just aren't as common in the schedules, DJ, because maybe it's just I'm getting a little bit jaded on some of the more regulars, but having something fresh and new just feels exciting.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wild card round, if you will, and really coming back to the roots of NASCAR, places like Rockingham and North Wilkesboro that are no longer on the schedule, but were on there for so many years. And Joe, I know you and I are such big fans of the history of motor racing, so it's always good to see these old school circuits returning back on the sim world.
Absolutely. And as someone who grew up racing NASCAR Racing 1 and 2, that is something that it's a track that holds a dear place in my heart as well, as we get ready to take green. And pace car is in. Josh Daniels waiting to get waved by Barney, and the green flag is out. We are racing now for round 1 in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. So already on lap 3, Josh Daniels leading the way with Pat Harvey trailing behind. Then you get into the first battles, and we got our first caution. James Durr looks like he's dropping down, and he's got, it seems, Bob Clement with him down there on the bottom. This is two of the drivers closer to the mid-pack. I think there was some car contact here.
Yeah, there was indeed. It looks like James Durr just kind of misjudged his braking going into turn 1 and caught Clement. You'll see it right here. Comes down onto the inside. A little bit of a move up, a little bit of a move down, and just a racing incident that causes them both to go out into the barriers here at Rockingham.
Okay, so already got our first yellow very early on. But it seemed like Josh Daniels was handling that start quite well, getting himself some decent distance. Third place really was where we were seeing the drivers trying to sort things out for quite some time. Acosta and Hudson. Did Conker get involved? We're on the replay. Oh, it was right behind it, and I worried that this could be an issue. Ooh, he got a big hit, and he is, of course, coming down to pit lane to get that repaired. So that's going to be a tough one to come back from to try and take victory for the third time in a row.
Yeah, indeed it is. Remember, no spare car in this series, so his pit crew is going to have to bang on that car with the virtual mallets to try to get it fixed out. But with that much front and rear damage, that is going to take a whole lot of time for your points leader to be able to get back out there. Now, he will want to try to get back out because he will score points if he runs 50% race distance.
So hopefully he can get back out there and get rolling. Massey is in, Durr is in there, Bob Clement, of course. I see Ali down the lane. Did he get caught up in that at all in the 666? He's already back out. I wonder if that's just a regular stop. It looked like if it was, he took 4 tires because it was about 20 seconds. So interesting strategy call.
Yeah, he could be maybe coming in to just try to get a little bit of an advantage. I understand Ali decided to come in to top off fuel, maybe just see if he can run a few laps longer, but I don't get the call for tires, Joe.
Yeah, that seems a bit strange. Seems like a bit of a waste after only 3 laps. Puts him back there at the back of the field on this restart, which looks like we have the lights out on the pace car already, so we're getting ready to go racing now on lap 7. And will we see a good jump now that Josh Daniels will have actual control of the field here? He'll be able to go when he wants. And Pat Harvey will have to watch carefully to make sure he doesn't get left napping, especially with Abner Acosta down there. Abner probably looking to try and get his season underway properly. Had a horrible wreck there back at Talladega. Coming down the backstretch, actually with Josh Conker, ironically enough, for those two making contact and sent the 5 into a bit of a wild moment. Green flag is out, and it was not a good start for Harvey. He's going to fall back to 3rd as it looks like Acosta's managing to easily take that 2nd away.
Yes, he is. The high side getting caught out quite a bit here as we ride on board with Trent Dinkle. You can see him riding a little bit off the wall there, courtesy of a car coming up to his inside. That's Chris Hudson trying to poke his nose, but Dinkle's going to hold down to that yellow line, and you can see the bumps, and you can see the increased downforce here. There is, oh, we've got somebody in the wall.
Trying to figure out who that was, and looks like maybe Trent Dinkle a little bit. Yeah, there you can see the damage on the right front there for Trent. And we got another caution, Mark Kalin this time, on the backstretch in the 62 car.
Oh, another yellow catching out there, and a big plume of brake smoke coming up off of the back. So we'll see what happened to Mark here.
I think he lost it on his own. There he is in the 62, the orange and black machine. A little bit of the apron there at the bottom, and wow, that snapped. Came just about back up onto the racing surface, so that must have triggered the caution.
Is there... Oh, man, that is just a snap to end all snaps, Joe.
Interesting. And the car behind him, trying to figure out who that was, almost immediately tried to take evasive action. And despite trying to quickly whip that thing back straight, just could not catch it. I think that was the 24 who had a big flinch seeing that happen, trying to take avoiding action. That'd be Jose Medina, who thankfully did not hit anything. One small correction, it looks like they do not have the 50% rule, so Josh will still be able to get points even if he does not complete the 50% race distance. He started the race and he'll be counted.
Well, all right. And we ride on board with Taylor Burris here as the field reforms. Drivers just getting up to speed in these next-gen cars on these very, very old circuit and this old bumps around here. There you can see the private label Team Hype driver.
Man, it is a track that is proving about as difficult as we anticipated. Hopefully they'll get that cleaned up. As we saw in the previous 2 weeks, there is a time limit, 90 minutes, that they've got to get this race in under. And unfortunately, the first 2 races wound up being timed races. So we have not managed to complete either of the laps in our first 2 rounds. So we've got an hour and 16 minutes left. So just about 15 minutes into this event. Still plenty of time. But don't want to have too many of these quick cautions.
Indeed. We'll let you know how that shapes out in terms of if we will be running on time or if we'll be running on lap number around here, as I believe the lights on the pace truck are out, so we should be getting ready to go green here.
Indeed, doubled up, and Josh Daniels will have control. Now the roles have been reversed with second and third place. It is Acosta starting on the outside of that front row with Harvey in the 67 rather, below him. It's always hard to try and get that good jump if you are in P2, especially at shorter tracks. Oh, I thought the lights were out. Looks like they are not. Apologies. And we'll have to go around one more time. They should be going out this time around.
Yeah, you and I both did that, Joe, and there we go. There, the lights are officially out. So, yeah, Abner's going to have his work cut out for him, able to make a good move on that last go-around because of the inside line. But we just haven't seen that outside really come alive yet. Granted, we haven't had a whole lot of green flag running here, but each and every time we've restarted, it looks like the outside line not paying off.
Certainly not. Of the drivers that have been involved in incidents, looks like we still have Clement on pit lane. Guerra is trying to take repairs, and CM Pennington as well. Josh Conker's back out on track. He is actually on the lead lap still, miraculously, and Amasi is a lap down behind him in 29th. They're getting a little bit of advice from the race control, asking them to try and cool it down a little bit. Of course, we haven't had anything that was too crazy out there from what we witnessed, so I think drivers maybe just need to watch out for just how tough the rock is. As the pace car is in, immediately off this time for the 77. The green flag is out, and my goodness, Harvey gets bogged down, and he falls down multiple positions.
And if anything, that actually helped out Abner Acosta a little bit because it meant he was immediately able to dive down to the low side. As there you can see everybody in the top running pretty single file, but Harvey just trying to scramble to make up positions. He's all the way down in 9th.
Unbelievable. A very disappointing first 2 restarts for Harvey. Also good one for Richard Regan in the 46. He's gone from 16th to 5th right now. There you see him in that bright yellow machine is riding the high line. That was Trent Dinkel in the 501. We're on board with Regan now as he's looking for more spots. And we got a battle for the lead in front of them, the 5 to the inside of the 77.
Indeed, Abner Acosta trying to make the move to the inside, but momentum favoring Joshua Daniels to the high side. He was able to make that number 77 Love Racing machine really work out for him. Now it's going to be Trent Dinkel running to the high side. Acosta just trying to tuck up behind in the draft.
Looks like we're getting drivers shifting a little bit, which is surprising with how quick they are around here. No shifts for Acosta, but Josh Daniels is definitely using it. And once again, riding that high line, Trent Dinkel preferring to stay right up against the safer barrier.
Yeah, just trying to make that line work, and that should help his tires out just a little bit. Ooh, little bit of momentum there, favoring Abner Acosta as he dove it a little bit farther into the corner, but nothing doing there. It doesn't look like Abner's trying to push too hard. Remember, we talked about how this place is going to eat up the tires, so that is going to be on the drivers' minds right now.
Ooh, and coming down to the bottom, the 501 abandons the top side. Richard Regan Jr. has a better exit off of turn 2. He's going to get down to the inside. Right back up top goes the 501.
He says that's totally fine, makes it work, carries the momentum. He's going to stay in third as they cross over the start-finish.
Still, Richard Regan Jr. already up to 4th spot here. He is a man on a mission as they come off of turn 3. That time, though, got a little sketch.
If that's a little sketchy, I'd hate to see what a lot of sketchy looks like. Joe Regan Jr. really wheeling that thing around the bumps here at Rockingham.
All right, we're getting a few laps under green now. The drivers starting to get a handle on things. A little bit behind them, we saw some of the battles as we hop towards Walden in 14th. Oh, and a slow car in front of him, the 66. What happened to him there?
I was actually watching that. That's Taylor Stout. He was coming up off of the line underneath Danny Cervantes. Almost had a move done and then just had to check himself up, and that momentum is causing him to fall back through the field, Joe.
The 30 South driver not having the easiest time. Wow, look at just how much the wheel is moving around for Trent Dinkle. Interestingly, all 3 of them running slightly different lines.
Goes to show you what can happen if you're not in a cookie-cutter D-oval. Joe Rockingham putting up a real treat for these drivers. Oh, there you see Trent Dinkle just keeping it up on that high line. Loses out a little bit during the corner because he's not taking the fastest way around. Wow, look how close he is up there.
He is, but close to his inside. The 46 manages to get side by side once again, and Regan might actually have it this time. Almost gets the shot off the corner, nearly making contact with the left-hand side of the 501, sending it in deep. Trent Dinkle does not want to give up this podium position, but he's going to have to. There goes Regan.
All right, and that's one of the first really good passes we've seen, and Regan really doing a good job to drive that car up through the field here at this point. And that's going to be Dinkle continuing on the high side. We jump back here to Chris Hudson, who's locked in a little bit of a battle with Eric Papineau.
This is for the 5th position. A whole train of cars behind them, honestly. You mentioned Hudson. They've also got Cowgill in 31. And James O'Brien, not exactly lightning through the field, but it's still very early. The 9 car still sitting in 8th position.
Indeed, and they're all running 3 lines just like we saw those leaders doing earlier on. But we jump back up here to Richard Regan Jr., biggest mover on the day. He's up 13.
All right, also Matthew Long looking pretty good. Not too much of a shock for him as he tends to be pretty quick. So up to 15th place for the 28 car. And yeah, I find it interesting that they are able to run so many different lines. To me, I'd say this next-gen car is perfectly suited here.
Yeah, it really is. May make a little bit of a movement for NASCAR to return back to this track in real life. I know I'd love to see it. We're getting some reports, though, that the number 40 of Taylor Burris just making some contact with the outside wall as we ride on board with Charles Sumner here, currently back in 21st.
He's at the back of a train with Mike Witt, Skip Gandy, Ryan Goodell, Robert Besaw Jr., and Adam Zemke in front of him. Checking in, though, here with Taylor Burris. Let's see if he glances up against that wall. He's also leading a bunch of folks like the Pied Piper, Danny Cervantes, the first one behind him you see, and the orange and black. And he gets very close. Hard to tell if he actually touched, though.
Yeah, we'd have to have a little bit more of a look there, but that's the 25 Cervantes just trying to keep that line. If he can dive it in here, force Burris up the wall a little bit more, he may be able to have the line. You see how Burris is still diamonding off the corner, even though he's going in there. Verified, he has got right front damage. We are officially hearing it. Burris has made contact with the wall previously.
Doesn't seem to be hurting him too much. Stout now lining him up, though. And looks like maybe trying a slightly different line, not happy with that car contact. And wow, zooming up the outside behind them, the 28 of Matthew Long is coming, and he's got a lot of speed, but he's boxed up as we now look at the second place driver, Abner Acosta, also taking a peek on Josh Daniels.
Yeah, but that peak's going to cost him a little bit as Richard Regan Jr. is looking very, very interested in it. Bob Clement and James Durr, though, they are coming up on those cars quickly. That's lap traffic up ahead, Joe.
I think both of them are damaged cars as well, so they got to be careful and wary of how they're handling. This is on board with Durr. He's got a little ways, I think, before he gets to him. So Daniel still leads, Acosta in second, and Regan third. They're breaking away. They've dropped Dinkle, and Hudson is also miles behind.
Yeah, it's really starting to be a big, big breakaway for these top three. Starting to fan it out a little bit, but we never know what can happen here. Yellow will throw this whole thing back together.
That was Clement at the bottom that you saw. Looks like he's maybe going to either come in for more repairs or just trying to stay out of the way of the field as they come through the 45. In the meantime, Papineau trying to see if he can get something away from James O'Brien.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a run to make there. Let's watch their lines through the corners. Now, O'Brien's been on a bit of charge. Whoa, that's some good speed for Papineau, but is he going to be able to drive off of the corner? That's not too bad. He's running a good line, but he's got to be worrying about that. That requires a lot of wheel into those front tires, and that can really wear him out.
I got to imagine the front right not happy about that. O'Brien with a completely different line from him. They're starting to catch back up to Chris Hudson in front of them. Not sure if James maybe dropped off for a minute, but the gap is coming down, and we head back to Goodell now.
Goodell, who's got a whole hornet's nest ahead of him. That is Taylor Burris, and I believe the 67 right there, Pat Harvey, as well, blocking up the track. Goodell just trying to find a way by. May have something on the inside there of Burris, but I'm not sure.
Front row starter, the 67, ever since he dropped back on that last restart, has not recovered at all. Down in 14th position. We're on board with him now, just behind Taylor Stout. Hopefully he stopped the bleeding from here. And definitely our biggest loser so far in this race.
Yeah, indeed, just not really able to keep it out the way he would like to. But he's got a lot of time to make it in. Ooh, so we've got a nice little battle behind. This is Zemke riding behind Goodell and Burris.
Indeed, these two have been battling side by side. Zemke wants to try and find a way through. One thing we haven't mentioned, this is a relatively narrow track too, and there's just not much space for three wide.
No, there really, really isn't, Joe, and drivers have got to be careful if they try to take it even three wide or even think about it, as it could end up with you in the wall. There you can see on that blimp view just how narrow this old girl really is.
Wow, 40 going right up against the wall once again. Great shut off the corner. And Goodell in the 14 can't really respond. He breaks early. The 40 really liking that high line, even if he has scraped it. And he tries to come back down to the bottom as he's finally lost out to Goodell. At least he's able to slot in front of Zemke.
And a quick check back in on the leaders here, as Dinkle's been able to keep pace with them relatively well, but about a 1.2 second gap back from Dinkle to Chris Hudson. But these leaders of Daniel Acosta and Regan Jr., really the class of the field here, just kind of running their own race.
Watching from Dinkle, you can see the distance that he's dropped. Does look like he's regained at least a little bit of it here. About 0.6 of a second back from Richard Regan Jr. Dinkle coming off of a race win at the final race of last season. He's also using that shifting method. Let's listen in. Now there's the shift, you can see as his hand reaches down. So, using those 5 gears to good effect in this new car. But right now, it looks like that lap was not a very good one, as he falls to about 0.8 back. This is it back in 7th and 8th here. Looks like Patrick Cowgill battling with Cervantes down to his inside. Matthew Long still involved in that. Long up from 26th position, now 16 spots up. Bad exit for the 25. The mailman, Danny Cervantes, unfortunately going to have to collect it up and see if he can block off the 21 before he demotes him another position.
I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. It looked like a lot of speed. They were jumping back up to Richard Regan Jr. We've got a little bit of a battle for the lead shaping up as Acosta starting to put some pressure now on Joshua Daniels as they are starting to catch up to these lapped cars up ahead of them.
Indeed, James Durr finally being caught. We were watching from his onboard earlier. You couldn't see the leaders. Now you can catch a glance of him as we ride with Richard Regan Jr. If you were in the number 5, would you want the track position, especially since these three seem to be kind of running away a little bit?
I would want the track position if I could get it, but right now, if I'm feeling okay riding behind the 77, I'm all right. The biggest thing I don't want to do is overuse the tires. We've now had a nice long run of green. I don't know when the next caution is going to come out, and so I do not want to run the risk of just absolutely abusing my tires and having that come back to bite me later.
Yeah, I agree, and here we see the pace between Daniels and Dinkle. Daniels the leader, Dinkle down in 4th place. And looking like it's a bit of a yo-yo right now. Trent at times a little bit quicker, but at other times Josh Daniels starting to stretch that lead away. You can see them now catching up to the 55. Here is the perspective from Josh Dinkle as he continues to give chase.
Continues to give chase, but he is dropping off a little bit to the tune of about 8 tenths of a second off the back of Richard Regan Jr. Traffic that they're getting around, that's James Durr. Ooh, that got a little hairy there between him and Regan Jr. Durr, no fault of his own, just trying to stay out of the way.
And I'd say one driver who is not enjoying this long green flag run, it's our current points leader, Josh Conker, who finds himself well down the order. In fact, his lap times are significantly slower because of his damage. So after winning the first 2 races, I'm not even sure if he's going to be able to complete this one on the lead lap.
Yeah, that car looking like it's got a whole lot of damage. Remember, both front and rear damage to the car.
Caution's out. Caution's out. Oh, it's a big one. Beesaw's involved. Calgill. Looks like Sumner is involved. Skip Gandy and Pat Harvey.
And Dinkle, Trent Dinkle has lost the whole rear end of the car as well. That's one of the front runners.
Now, he was not involved in this incident, so that he had to have had his own thing. Here's his replay. All the way up to the wall. Oh, he got loose trying to lap another slower car. Oh, big hits for him. And who ran into the back of him there? Was that O'Brien?
That was the 55 of James Durr that ran into the back of him, I believe, Joe.
So not sure if that caused the yellow or this one, but 2 separate incidents, and the other one started with Calgill in the 31. That was down in the first corner. Actually, a bit of a bizarre one, this one. If we watch from O'Brien here on that other incident with Dinkle, does he make contact? Just a little bit. So the 31, now this one's going to be weird. He makes side-to-side contact on the front stretch with Lou Christian. And that's going to set off a chain of events that just kind of trickles down into various cars. Here's Calgill here.
And so coming down, Christian makes the move to the inside.
Might have gone a little far back here.
Yeah.
So happened on the front stretch, where they'll make that side-to-side contact. Yeah, here's where they start racing side by side into 3 and 4. Must have been a bit of a miscommunication through the little kink on the tri-oval. Oh yeah, he got a shot. Maybe the 21 didn't realize he was going to be there.
And Calgill just tries to catch it. There you can see. Oh, 1-2. Bada bing.
Yeah, if we stay with that after that second hit, unfortunately, many other cars just kind of pile into it. Oh, ooh. That was a very sudden move from the 21. This will be a good angle to see, yeah, just how many drivers just unable to woe it up in time and almost block the whole track to boot.
Yeah, just a lot of incidental contact there. Drivers really know where to go. Just see it, everybody getting collected here as they try to avoid it, but those that were running the high side just running out of space and time.
Oh man, and Sumner came in so late and he was getting very slow, just couldn't seem to avoid it, unfortunately. Yeah, you can see it coming from a long way back there from Harvey, but there's not a whole lot he could do in that situation. Everybody kind of trickles down the banking to the bottom. We had pit stops and pretty much everybody came down pit lane. I'm not seeing anybody gambling on 2 tires though. This is from Skip Gandy's perspective. Wow, big hit.
Yeah, he looked just fine there, Joe, until that big ricochet at the end just completely tore off the front of that car. One more look here on Pat Harvey. Oh.
And it didn't help that the car behind just kind of made things worse. It wasn't too big of a hit initially, and then suddenly Besaw finds himself unable to blow it up. Here we go. He's got cars low too, so he really didn't have a choice on where to take the car.
Yeah, it just looked like he tried to hit the brakes there, Joe, and car didn't want to do it and went straight ahead up into the wall. You saw that little side contact.
And we are getting ready to go green once again as the 77 leads, and good start for him. But now Richard Regan Jr. rather, underneath the number 5, getting ready to try and take that second place away. Acosta's having none of it.
No, he's not. Abner fighting back along that high side as they scream down Thunder Alley. But here comes Regan Jr. trying to make it work. I think Acosta's going to carry a little bit more momentum, but can he hold that high line as they come through the tri-oval?
He's going to try his best. And they stay side by side now for a complete lap. Great momentum coming into the corner. What about going off? Almost scraping the wall. In fact, I think he did hit it. The 46 starts to edge ahead.
Yeah, lost a little bit of momentum there, did Abner, but we also saw him lose a little bit. Oh, there it is, and almost able to slide up the track, fully able to slide up the track. Give that position to Richard Regan Jr.
He had a fight for that one. That was great for Josh Daniels, who gets about 0.4 of a second over everybody else behind him. Whoa, big slide there for the 43. Chris Hudson catches it, but he loses out to Matthew Long, who is now up to 4th. That has got to be our hardest charger.
I believe it is, yeah, up 22 positions on the day. We ride on board with Chris Hudson. Watch his hands here as he comes off of the corner. There, he's got it.
That bottom line off of 2 looks very, very treacherous for the drivers. It's not the first person we've seen start to get loose off of that turn.
Yeah, it is. That's where we've seen several drivers have some problems as we ride on board a little back in the field. This is 8th place in Taylor Stout trying to work on Danny Cervantes.
Nice little battle here. Cervantes sitting P7 just behind James O'Brien, who's now up to the 6th position. And Richard Regan Jr. taking fastest lap of the race. That is a bonus point, by the way, for Richard doing that, so he'll want to hold on to that one.
And look at these different lines the front 2 are running, just changing lines through the corner. You see Regan trying to hold it down a little bit more. Oh, here comes the move for the lead. Richard Regan Jr. not to be denied.
Very fast man tonight. He's picked his way through the field, gotten all the way to 2nd, and now he's got 1 more to go. But these top 2 are not sitting around and let that happen easily. Josh Daniels doing much like we saw with Acosta, carrying his speed well, but can he avoid the pitfalls that Abner could not?
Well, let's see. Indeed, he's able to edge ahead, carry that momentum down the backstretch as they dive into 3 and 4 right now, trying to see if he can just hold that high line to perfection. The 77 doing a good job, and he's able to hold it out.
Wow, impressive stuff from Josh Daniels. So that pace is merited, it seems. Even though he's had the clear air in front of him, he is holding off the quite fast number 46. The team hype car just sticking to the bumper of that 77 for now. I'm sure he's thinking I'll get more chances later.
Yeah, exactly. We are just into the 58th lap here, so just over a quarter ways. There is plenty of time left for Regan Jr. He knows he's got it. But I'm getting the sense, Joe, that these drivers want to try to make the moves early in the stint where the tires are grippiest. Once they start to wear off a little bit, these moves look harder and harder to get stuck.
It doesn't look terribly easy, especially as the grip starts to go away and the bumps just feel all that more crazy underneath you. But look at how much they have pulled away from those behind them. You can see the gap on screen, 0.4 of a second down to Abner Acosta, with Matthew Long chasing him currently. And that's with the side-by-side racing that the 77 and the 46 were doing.
Yeah, exactly. But everybody across here just trying to find the right times. By the way, just an update. Even with that caution, it looks like we are good to go to green here. If we stay green the entire way, we will finish on lap numbers.
Okay, and now that the two have settled down up there, ironically, it looks like they are starting to gain as we hop a little bit farther back briefly. And this is the battle now for third place with Matthew Long and Chris Hudson. Hudson's recovered after his slide. Both of them trying to see if they can overtake the 5 of Abner Acosta. Not much between all three of them, but look at how high off the corner Chris Hudson goes there.
Yeah, Hudson is really wheeling that thing, and Abner just looks like he's lost a hair of pace after trying to make that move on, or after getting passed by Richard Regan Jr. Just looks like he's not exactly able to stay in touch. Almost a little bit of a bump draft there behind with James O'Brien and Danny Cervantes.
May have just overworked those tires somewhat, but there's still time to go. Maybe he could get them cooled down a little here as we watch the top group close back in together. Doesn't seem like Acosta's losing all that much to Regan now. It's staying put at about 0.4 of a second. Here's CM Pennington trying to stay off to the side. Doesn't want to get involved in this, and everybody able to duck low underneath.
Everybody diving their way underneath. Good job there from CM Pennington. You can see out the back there, that's a good little battle we're having with James O'Brien, Taylor Stout, and Danny Cervantes. O'Brien able to get his way on by right now. And there you see him diving in.
Just staying up high, letting everybody go. Pennington, unfortunately, having to do so very early in this race. We're only on lap 66, so barely past a quarter of the way through. Back up at the front, side-by-side action back there between Stout and Cervantes. In fact, Stout looks a little bit slow. He might get passed by the 14 as well. Now the 14 gets out of shape. He has to chase it up the hill. The 45 of Papineau now gets him.
Blinken, you may miss some action here, Joe. Oh, my goodness gracious. We ride on board with Waldo Walden now trying to make the move here, sticking it down to the inside on Ryan Goodell. He has got it held out, but Goodell looking for a little bit of a fight back there in the Ford. Not able to do it. He's going to have to stay in line.
Boy, things just erupted there for a second. The drivers having all kinds of issues, along with trying to overtake all this lap traffic. Skip Gandy trying to stay off to the side for them as well. Top 4 once again. Daniels, Regan, Acosta, Long, make that 5. Hudson still in there. They've gapped ahead of O'Brien by about 1.5 seconds. We come back to the 666 now, who is recovered after early issues himself. Ali in the 666, just going by Baron Hilton. That's for 16th.
And he made that look easy, Joe. Just absolutely sent it into the corner, able to get it woed up and jumped out. Jumping back up to Taylor Stout, though. Right up ahead of him, that's Danny Cervantes trying to trail on the backside of James O'Brien.
A little bit surprised at O'Brien here that he's not able to make more inroads in this race unless he's just going to bide in his time and saving his stuff. Cervantes starting to get very interested in that 6th position, looking quick off of turn 2. He's got some momentum, but he doesn't have enough straightaway.
No, he doesn't, but he's going to keep that car up on the high side, trying to carry the momentum, running it down the hill a little bit, maybe looking for a little bit of a crossover move there on James O'Brien, and he's going to be alongside as they dive into 1.
Cervantes not able to chuck it in deep enough, and he'll have to give up the ghost on that move. He's got to watch out. Taylor Stout's still back there in that 66, so he could try and pounce on the 25 if he makes an ill-timed move, as they all fan out through 3 and 4, each of them picking a lane and each of them working just about equally.
Yeah, they're all pretty good there. It just looks like Danny Cervantes is really chomping at the bit, trying to get himself by that number 9. And Joe, I think I may have found out a little bit why that number 9 is not doing as well as we think. It looks like there's a little bit of right front damage to him. Remember, he did clip Trent Dinkle. There you can see it. So maybe the aero on that car not working as perfectly as he would hope.
Certainly doesn't look like it. You're hearing that the Whataback drivers are not terribly happy with how the cars are driving at this stage. And yeah, there's the damage on the left front with the 9. So the 25, wonder if he's aware of that one. And watching him cross already onto lap 75 now, 74 rather, for these drivers. Here's Matthew Long. Has great momentum off the corner. As close as he gets to the 5 of Abner Acosta, still not able to do anything with it. And Acosta has finally caught Richard Regan.
He has indeed, but he has got to worry about that 28 of Matthew Long before he can worry about Richard Regan. Long sending it down to the inside, but Acosta able to carry some more speed on the outside. Is that a puff of brake smoke there? Almost contact between the two.
Oh, things are getting a little bit antsy, and this is definitely costing them time. Whatever Acosta had regained on the 46 has evaporated in front of his eyes. Also watching back, Chris Hudson starting to approach the rear bumper of the 28.
Yes, he is. Hudson, who's been slowly but surely looking okay. He's down 1 position from his starting spot, but he seems to always just be lurking in the background, running a little bit of that midline there through 3 and 4, the Dirty South Racing driver.
And this is one of our newer teams going up against Team Hype, because you can see they're both Dirty South drivers, Long and Hudson, working together maybe a little bit here to see what they can do to overtake the 5, get themselves valuable team points.
Yeah, exactly, especially on a day where the standard bearer for private label Team Hype, Josh Conker, is down in the field a little bit. They are going to be looking for that. Now, granted, they still have plenty. There is damage we're hearing on the 25 above the right fender, right front fender, I believe. So more damage across the field. Rockingham taking its toll on these drivers.
Yeah, there you see it on screen there. About the only odd one out that we've got in the front group in terms of teams, Josh Daniels, is on Love Racing. And he's carrying the flag for them quite well today. Here's Zemke in the 57. He's in the midst of a little quartet being led by Goodell. Walden's in there. So is Mark Kalin.
Indeed, he is. Zemke's really got to be looking through the front and the back. A little bit of a poke behind there for Lou Christian, I believe, in that, that's Mark Kalin back in that 62 machine, trying to see if there was something on Zemke. A little bit of a run up in front for Waldo. Walden, maybe. Oh, almost contact between himself and Goodell.
Walden giving a little bit of an apology for that one. Didn't like how that looked, and that checked up the 57. Here comes Kalin down to the inside. Can he complete the pass is the question. All the way down to the yellow line, but the 57 is flying up on the high lane. And in fact, that might be a pass for Zemke as he pulls up alongside Walden now.
I think that started out as a defensive move, as that was a big checkup for Mark Kalin there. Otherwise, he would have plowed into the back of that green 57 machine. Kalin now, no!
Bottom line, biting out of 2 once again. Walden getting all kinds of loose. The 62 getting into the back of him almost briefly. Here we go. Let's watch and see. Watch that 48 car, the 84 car rather, down on the bottom.
You can see him just working it. Oh, trying to defend it out to the best of his abilities. Kalin having to go high.
Yep. Gathered up the car. but Kalen got past. He's now into 12th. Zemke into 11th, and that splits apart that battle as we come back to Abner Acosta. Once again, managing to run them down the 77, not liking that low line either. Here comes Richard Regan Jr. This is the chance he's been waiting for. Gets up to the high side this time. Can he use it to get around the 77? It seems to be the preferred line for the top runners, and it is, as the 46 is your new leader.
Talk about some good opportunistic moves, and now here comes Abner Acosta trying to dive it down low. Not quite able to get the nose in there like he would. A little bit of a shutting of the door for Josh Daniels, but a great move for Richard Regan Jr.
Wow, so the thing I'm getting out of this one, DJ, is get your rival to the bottom line on corner exit at 2. And you're going to get a chance. Yeah, look at how squirrely the car gets, how slow he has to go. And that's because of a lapped car, of all things. Oh, and if we come back live, Acosta just made contact with Daniels as he was overtaking him. Oh, and more contact with Daniels with the 43. 43 goes around. No caution yet. Now we've got a caution.
Oh my goodness gracious, and a good run there for the 43. Absolutely scuppered some massive damage to the 77 as well. Let's go back to check out this replay. This is Chris Hudson diving into the corner here. There you can see that contact with Acosta and Daniels, and then Hudson drifts up the track, loses it, and right into the side of your former leader, Josh Daniels.
Wow, it's amazing how quickly this whole complexion of this race can change for Josh Daniels. He was leading what looked like easily for much of the race. As soon as he leads the lead, he's under attack. Loses the lead, he's under attack. And he had a little bit of contact with Acosta on top of it. This is from Daniels' perspective. Watch the left-hand side. Little bit of a bump. That might be what slowed him up. And then this caused the 43 to be on an undesirable line. And it was a chain reaction. He couldn't gather it up, just slid in front, and Daniel's luck finally run out.
I think luck is the right word for it, Joe. It's some of the ability to catch the car, just absolute luck around here. We ride on the hood there. Yeah, there's that first damage. This is Abner's point of view to get out ahead of it. There you can see that line. Yeah, you do not want to be down low there coming out of 2.
So his drivers already are exiting the pit lane. Looks like Regan Jr. and Acosta are going to be the first ones out, with Long trailing now in 3rd position.
Yeah, so this is certainly going to change up the order a little bit, and we're going to have to see if Matthew Long's got anything for the leaders. We've seen him climb up through the field quite well. It's just a matter of if he's going to be able to compete with the big boys now.
So, yeah, there's one more perspective on it. And Hudson goes around. So, not much in the way of changes after that, but that was certainly a huge development. That promotes O'Brien up a couple more. So despite our being a wet blanket about some of his pace, he's managed to get up to 5th.
Yeah, I mean, he's been able to get himself up there, and I think especially at tracks like Rockingham that really act a little bit more like short tracks, it is just about avoiding damage, Joe, staying out of trouble, and that's exactly what he has been able to do here, and that's what finds him up in the top 5.
Well, we're out a few cars on top of that. Joao Guerra is out of this. Patrick Cowgill has DNF'd, and Trent Dinkel is officially out. I think we'll see a few more. James Durr looks like he might not be returning, unfortunately. So this has been gobbling them up, spitting them out. They call it the Rock, and it certainly has been a hard one. But now we see Regan leading Acosta, 2 team hype drivers carrying the flag at the front of the field.
Yeah, pretty much to the surprise of nobody. Here's Taylor Burris going pretty slow, letting some drivers on by him. My guess is that that was an order from race controller, something of that nature, that he had to let some cars by under yellow.
Taylor needs a good race, I think, at this point. It's probably the only one from Team Hype, I think, that hasn't seen a decent finish so far this season. But we now get ready to go racing once again as the lights are off on the pace car. So let's see what kind of green flag run we can get. It's been a couple good ones so far. And Richard Regan Jr. for the first time will be leading us on the restart. Will he go as quickly as we saw from the 77? Yes. Green flag out very quick. And once again, second in line on the inside row seemed to struggle. Matthew Long could not get the throttle down, and he has a repeat of what we saw with Harvey.
Yeah, it was massive amounts of wheel spin there for Matthew Long. The car was almost completely sideways. He's lucky he gathered it up back under him and only lost 5 spots.
Let's watch this restart here with Matthew Long riding on board. Let's listen. Oh, there's the, wow, big snap there. That explains everything. And that was costly. So O'Brien was briefly up to 4th, but Long is going to try and take that one right back as he's already fighting with him. And we're on board with Long down on this low side. Not sure if he'll want to stay there, though. Maybe if the tires are in good enough condition, he can handle this treacherous bottom exit of 2.
Well, looks like it's not going to matter there as James O'Brien able to work his way back on by him, shut the door a little bit as the Dirty South driver is now going to have to fall back into line behind the number 9 and just try to figure out another way by.
It was a valiant effort, but I don't think O'Brien is willing to give up whatever positions he's been able to gain, still dealing with that tiny bit of damage on the left front. We head over to Waldo Walden's perspective now. He's currently trailing behind Lou Christian in the 21, vying for that 11th spot.
Yeah, just trying to get up behind him here as we continue to watch that 28. Better run there off the corner, but drifts up a little bit. Not able to get the run on O'Brien that he would like.
Driver's playing chicken with that outside wall a few times, it seems, as many are getting dangerously close to it with a lot of drift up towards there. Zemke just in front of that pair has been working on Goodell, who recently lost a spot to Mark Kalin in front of them. Kalin's actually been impressive considering the 62's been involved in a pretty big wreck. The front of that car does not look that great, and he's still running in 10th position, in 8th position.
I believe you saw there that was Taylor Stout, I think, getting very, very squirrely off of 4, having to drive the car all the way down to the apron. That's really the first time we've seen a car get super loose off of 4 there. Watch this, Joe, just comes off of it. And this is going to be the whole lap of 4, so you can really get a sense of just how he wants to handle this. Loses a little bit of that draft from in front, and that's in front of him getting on by.
I haven't really talked a whole lot about push, but I don't think we've seen much in the way of problems with that. Car's going to go up high. He's going to stay low. The low line, oh, maybe he was just a little bit unsighted by the car up high as the 45 looks like he had the lane he wanted, but now the 66 is back on it. Taylor Stout's actually getting quite close to Papineau as we ride on board now with Matthew Long in front of those two. He's also starting to challenge the 9 once again.
When you can see there coming off the corner, Joe, just how much wheel they're having to put in, how much counter steer they're having to add to the car to make sure it doesn't completely ride up on them. If you are riding that low line off of 4, that looks just very, very dangerous. Papineau going a little bit defensive there, I think, trying to block off that inside line. That's going to cost him through this corner, and indeed, Stout's able to get a pretty decent run on the high side. Papineau tries to close the door, but I think Stout's got at least a tire alongside. Let's see if he can continue this run.
He's got the outside line through 2, but he's a little bit too far back. The 45 able to drift up. We got another caution, and Taylor Burris involved in this one. I think this, it involved Josh Daniels. So Daniels finds himself in yet another incident on his climb back through the fields. Burris actually looks like he kept it just to himself in the 77 as he slid across the track. We got the replay pulled up here.
So there's Daniels. That's Burris right in front of him. Burris running a line. Daniels.
Ironically, the controversial incident at Atlanta was staying low for Taylor Burris as well. This is a completely different set of circumstances, though. But yeah, it's a bit strange that both times he's been involved with either the leader or former leader with miscommunication on the front stretch.
Yeah, let's watch here from Burris's perspective.
Felt like he got a little dumped almost.
Yeah. He really and truly, it looked like he was just keeping his line there coming through the corner. And I've got to say, I think Daniels was just a little bit over aggressive trying to get his nose to the inside of it.
Yeah. And unfortunately for Burris, he's the one that paid the price. Thankfully, man, if he was just a few feet more to the left, he would have absolutely destroyed the car hitting that inside wall. But he's got to come in for repairs regardless. Daniels is at least up to 16th place and still trying to pick away at whatever positions he can get in this final half of the race now that we've overtaken 100 circuits.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. And I don't anticipate any of the drivers coming down pit lane here. It's too early after the last stop. They should be fine on fuel, and you don't want to risk putting on a new set of tires and running out near the end.
Certainly not. So the drivers should hopefully get lined up relatively soon. We might have a couple wave arounds. Yeah, we still got one more to go behind the pace car. Haven't really been paying attention to our lucky dogs all that much, but we are still at least 23 drivers on the lead lap. Burris now currently the last of those as he comes back from his repair. Only Skip Gandy, CM Pennington, and that is it on our lap down cars. In fact, Gandy's still back in getting some of his machinery worked upon. Charlie Sumner looks like he's been taking a lot of repairs, and Bob Clement, but they've been in for nearly half an hour, so even if they get back out, not expecting to see much out of them. There we see that iconic Tropicana car and perhaps a slightly bored face out of Charlie Sumner.
Yeah, getting a whole lot of work done, Joe, and there is nothing more frustrating than just sitting there and watching that big old clock ticking down as it goes on through, as I believe we're going to get lights out here. Yes, indeed, and control the field to go back to Richard Regan Jr., and Abner Acosta will be to his outside.
And I don't know how superstitious are you, DJ, because if I was the 25 and I saw how the third place started the last couple times, I wouldn't really want to be in this position. Because in the case of both Harvey and Long, they've lost dramatically, but that seems to be a little bit more to the driver's fault, not necessarily due to some sort of actual circumstance.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of goosing the throttle, and here for Cervantes, he's going to know that has happened, and so he'll be a little bit wary of it. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get the best start as a result of it, just trying to be a little bit softer on the throttle, but we will have to see how he handles it.
Bad news is we seem to be just about close to the time limit from this caution, so we got to stay green if we want to actually finish a race this season. It's been a bit rough at the start, but it's a good start for our leader, Richard Regan Jr., as we go green flag racing once again. And now we get a good one from third place is Cervantes, even though it looks like he's not going to be able to overtake the 5, is at least solid off the line.
Indeed, everybody looking relatively okay there. Cervantes able to fall back into line. James O'Brien, Matthew Long coming around behind him. A good restart there, it looked like, from James O'Brien, who's now starting to push a little bit of pressure on that 25.
So O'Brien just never given up. And I gotta say, I need to maybe be a little bit more patient with him. Didn't really think he showed a whole lot here today, but now running up in the top 5 pretty consistently for a good chunk of this race. I can see behind them just flashes of the 66 on our screens. He's using the high line to great effect right now. He's moving up to 7th, battling with the 14. There you can see he's trying to catch up to the 45 of Papineau as well.
Yeah, he is indeed able to keep ahead of the 14, so he'll be pleased about that, but trying to get by Papineau. He's now going to dive the car back onto a little bit of a lower line here, working the bumps a little bit the best that he can, as he works his way around.
And hop on board with Taylor Stout now, still liking that middle line that he's riding down through turn 2. That doesn't give him the momentum that he needs along Thunder Rally. They're all going to spread out once more, each of them finding exactly what works for them around this track. It's even more amazing considering this is a fixed setup race that we are getting such variety in racing lines.
Yeah, really and truly does. So it just goes to show you the skill level in the field, and all of that is here. Ooh, Matthew Long trying to take a little bit of a look. I can report, by the way, that Taylor Stout got by Papineau, but had to absolutely wheel that car as he was about a millimeter off the wall in 3.
I know iRacing has implemented the bubble on the wall that the aerodynamics can give you. Here we go. You're going to see this into turn 3. He starts it in turn 1. He manages to slingshot his way around, sticks with it, but watch this. I don't know how he didn't scrape the wall here.
Yo! You can't get closer than that, Joe. It's Danny. Oh my goodness, that is the Kyle Larson line. That is Tom Sneva qualifying at Indianapolis. That is how you run a high line.
I've been made fun of recently because I keep referring to that as the Harry Gant line, but I think I'm just showing my age. As Stout now chases Long. That's for a top 5 position, but Long's not looking in his mirror. He has been attacking, although he has to back out of his move on the 9, and immediately the 66 is involved. We jump to Kalen instead in the 62, chasing down Papineau and Goodell.
Trying to run a little bit of a higher line. That's Papineau now trying to go a little bit high. That car trying to get a little bit sideways as it comes off of the corner. I think he lost a little bit of time to Goodell as a result of that. Goodell is going to have a better entry into the corner, just trying to hug that yellow line.
Back down the backstretch once again as Papineau holds on to this 7th position, but not really doing much to catch up to the 66 of Stout. We can see him making some distance on him after managing that impressive overtake. So far, we've been good without those cautions to keep us on time for the finish. This time down the back stretch, Matthew Long just wafting off the corner and now sending it deep down low to try and make something stick. We can see him up ahead from Goodell's perspective. He's trying to work on the 45.
He's trying to work on it to the best of his abilities, but nothing doing quite yet, trying to get himself around. We ride on board with Taylor Stout, who's really making that high line continue to work to the best of his abilities, but as he's coming up behind his teammate, he finds him stalling out a little bit here.
As we come back to our top 3, I've noticed that they are starting to pull away from James O'Brien as well. We're getting a tiny bit of a breakaway, which is kind of similar to what we witnessed earlier on in this race. Podium positions seem to be able to pull some gap, and what a great run from the 25, but he's not got anything to do with it as he lifted off the throttle down the backstretch despite a monster run on the 5. Maybe he doesn't want to fight too much, though. Maybe he doesn't want to lose touch with Richard Regan.
And as we continue to have these longer green flag runs, we could be worrying about drivers on tires here, not wanting to completely burn them up and save a set or two for the end, Joe. As we jump back to Adam Zemke here, that's Mark Kalin ahead of him. You can see Papineau now continuing to run that very, very high line.
A number of others seem to be migrating down low. We're seeing a little bit less of that top line, but the 62 is going to have to run it as he gets under attack from Zemke. Zemke, can he hold it coming off of 2? He does, but you can see the car wobble just a bit down low coming off the corner. Seems that loosey-goosey turn 2 still biting cars.
Yeah, Danny Cervantes getting some big, big runs here, just trying to see what he can do. He's going to try to run there. Puts the car on a little bit of a later apex than Abner up ahead of him. That's a good line there. He's able to maintain momentum, but he needs to be gaining here.
Gotta wonder if the 25, the mailman's trying to send a message to the 5, just making those big runs, making sure that Abner knows he's there, and Taylor Burris is involved in another one. This time, turn 3. I think he made contact with the 00 of Baron Hilton. I don't put this one on Taylor Burris again. Another victim of circumstance. You're going to see the 00 just weave down a little bit. Boink.
Almost a little bit of ghost contact there, Joe, and you can see the signs of frustration from Taylor Burris as he is not having a lucky day out here.
Certainly not. And this puts him down to 23rd, last car on the lead lap. Didn't really hit anything too hard, I don't think, so maybe he'll be able to get away with that one as we now have pit stops once again. But Richard Regan Jr. not pitting. Ooh.
Well, that's going to change up some strategy calls here. I'm not sure I love that, Joe.
Yeah, but I think no matter what he did, everybody else was going to wind up doing the opposite anyways. I'm not sure that he really had much choice. Just kind of had to make his bed and then lie in it. So now everybody behind starts to take service, and Taylor Burris stayed out. Oh. Okay. So he's going to restart in second position. Acosta is the first one out as we watch them come across the line. Looks like Cervantes after him and James O'Brien in fifth. Well, the order has been shaken now, and will it stir up the race?
Well, I think what it'll do, and what Richard Regan's going to be very happy about, is the fact that Burris is out there to run as a little bit of a blocker for him, potentially, and he will be able to hold off anybody coming from behind.
So he's going to try and get some tire temperatures into those tires. I almost said tires into those temperature, which I guess you could do. But private label car now up with one of his teammates there, Richard Regan Jr. Going to be able to join him on the front row. But will they suffer on the restart? Will they be lacking pace?
Well, I think once they get about 10 laps into it, they will be at least on semi-okay footing with the rest of the field. But the big problem they're going to have is going to be having tire spin off of that start. They really and truly need to be careful about that. These tires are worn in. They're not as grippy. They're not as wants to make contact with the asphalt, and we could see some slippage.
Still got to wait to go around at least one more time behind the pace car here as the lights are still on. So they got some time to think about their decisions and hope that it's going to work out for them. Seeing Besaw Jr. and Skip Gandy in pit lane. Skip's probably getting repairs, but I don't know why we saw Besaw Jr. in unless he was getting a lap back. May have been the lucky dog and is just taking his service. So restarting on 78 laps to go here for round 3 in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. What a day it has been so far. Great racing, DJ, but still lacking the cleanliness we usually saw in previous seasons in the Cup Series.
Well, Joe, I mean, it's a new car. It's a new format. I think drivers are still getting used to the way that these next-gen machines really feel. So while it is a little disappointing to have that out there, it's not exactly surprising that we haven't been running as green as we normally do.
Yep, I think it'll take a little bit more adjustment before we get things underway. So Acosta and Cervantes probably licking their chops now, knowing that they've got two cars on 35 and 21 lap old tires respectively in front of them as the pace car gets ready to peel off. Regan has control. He goes immediately once again. Wow, very bad start for Burris. He gets caught napping. The 5 immediately slots into second. O'Brien is going to be able to get into third as well.
And that means it is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, contact with Taylor Burris. That was the 66 of Taylor Stout behind him getting into the back of him.
Burris is dropping like a rock right now. This is not looking good for him. Just hoping things stay safe and stay green. The car is just a lemon right now.
Yeah, it is not driving at all. And you can just see the sort of the look of fear, just trying to hold on to that thing to the best of his abilities. Taylor Burris just doing the best that he can.
Not sure. Fear, consternation, both, or you name it. Oh, the 43 plugged up behind him. He's not liking that. He is in the fast lane. No honking at the granny, wanting to go by, and the 40 already all the way down to 15th. We're only 2 laps into this restart.
My goodness, we had a little bit of contact for P2, I believe. James O'Brien and Abner Acosta.
Oh, Josh Daniels brings out a caution. The 77 on the backstretch facing the wrong way. And guess who it involved? Oh, but actually, well, the irony is it involved Taylor Burris, but it wasn't Burris's fault. Again. It was contact with Witt in the 26. Watch the 77 to his outside. Just gets tipped, and he sends it straight into Burris. Somebody go ask Taylor if he broke a mirror this morning or something. Dear God.
I know one thing right now, Joe, is that I do not want Taylor Burris buying me a lottery ticket, because that will not end well.
Well, just going along his merry way. Yeah, in fact, I think every single incident so far, he's not seeing what's happened. He's just suddenly the car gets turned.
Poor guy. Yeah, there you can see. And that, I think that's probably day done.
That looked like Harvey that ran into him a little bit late there as well. We're going to get one more glance at this one. A little bit of Arca brakes, honestly, for poor Adam. and he had another one where he couldn't slow down. The very first incident, I want to say. Here it is, way up in front of him. A lot of smoke. I'm sorry, Pat, but you cannot cold trickle that one. Okay. Wow, that sent a few more drivers down pit lane. Harvey, Burris, naturally. Besaw is in. Is Regan staying out? I think he almost has to stay out at this point. He's committed to that one. Yeah, he's going to stay out.
Yeah, all right, and there is Taylor. Looks like he's trying to get some repairs done, so he may not be done yet.
Yeah, I think that time he couldn't get away with that one. There was a pretty big thunk to the car, so had to get some Bondo tape on it and hope that it at least has a little bit of speed, because it certainly doesn't look fast on those tires. But Regan Jr., amazingly, on even older tires than what we saw for Burris, did pretty well out there and did not lose the lead.
Yeah, he was able to get a really pretty good jump, and I wonder, Joe, if part of that was due to Taylor Burris's slower start on the outside, really preventing anybody from getting a run on him from there. So we'll have to see now with no rear gunner if that is going to be the same.
So Richard Regan Jr., who is very quick at Talladega as well, is looking like he is going to be one to watch out for. Trying to figure out, yeah, didn't finish in the top 5 in the first round, but he did get a top 10 back when we started in Atlanta, and then grabbed himself a, well, I guess it was another top 10. I'm not seeing a top 5 for that one either for Richard Regan Jr. This would be his first top 5 if he takes this victory, but he was 6th in the points coming into this race. So Regan is poised very well. Unfortunately for him, O'Brien, who's 2nd in the points, is also 2nd behind him on this restart.
Yeah, he is. So there is going to be some points consideration as just well as sheer out racing here going on this restart. We'll have to see if Regan Jr. is able to repeat his magic from that last time, or if he's able to get going.
Lights are off on the pace car. Gotta say, Acosta as well has been looking like a potential force, but things just haven't gone his way. He's hovering around these top 5 the entire race long, but we haven't seen him lead yet. But with Richard Regan Jr. getting the green now. Oh, contact! Once again, was that 3rd place with issues? That was Cervantes making contact with the 5.
It was indeed the curse of 3rd place striking again, Joe. I think that was a little bit of wheel spin that sent him sideways.
Let's watch this one. And yeah, maybe there's a bump on that bottom line, right where the leaders decide to go. Let's listen.
Just spun the rear tires.
Okay, then. Well, the good news for Danny is he's still in 5th place. We didn't lose a whole lot. And in fact, he's making a big run right now on the 66, but he's also got Long approaching behind him. You can see in those mirrors as we ride on board with Danny, turning around to find a big red 28 approaching.
Is indeed charting to climb up behind, but not able to get the move done.
We gotta go to the leaders. Sorry, we gotta go to the leaders because O'Brien is making a move to the inside of Regan Jr. Are those old tires starting to finally bite the 46? He can't hold them back. O'Brien is by and Acosta follows.
Yeah, the old tire's finally coming back to bite Richard Regan Jr. He's going to try to hold that car around the outside on his teammate Abner Acosta, but Acosta, there you can see just the grip off of the corner starting to take him. There, he's able to hold it for now.
The fight is in the 46. He's not willing to give this one up yet, but with that holding him up, Danny Cervantes is back, and he might want that 3rd place in return.
I think he does indeed, and right behind him there, Matthew Long also looking a little bit interested there, as that is Acosta on by Cervantes, really trying to go low past Thunder Alley. Oh my goodness, oh, they're so close, I'm amazed that didn't come to blows.
Long was not expecting that checkup from the 46 and regretting his decision. Richard Regan Jr. is bleeding spots left and right.
It was a good decision there for a little bit, but it is not paying out now as both his teammates and now the rest of the pack is hungry. They smell blood in the water, Joe.
Absolutely do. And you can see on the clock, we're down to 25 minutes left to go. Oh, into the wall goes Cervantes. Big slap to the outside.
I'm amazed he kept that pointed the straight way. That car skipped back onto the track. A little bit of contact there in the with Regan.
Oh, and Stout and Wall now. Stout hits the 25, somehow no caution. The 84 having to dodge all the way to the bottom line. He's still collecting it. The 43 has to check up. It is utter chaos out on the track.
This isn't NASCAR racing, Joe. This is bumper cars the way they're going around here. Watch this from Cervantes. Skips it, gets it back under him. Able to lose a little bit of momentum, but keep it going to the best of his abilities. Now brings it on through the corner. Now watch this 66 behind. That's where that contact's going to be as he comes off the wall, gets loose. Bam-o!
Some major hits at this stage of the race with little time to try and recover from stuff like that. Regan still holding on to 5th place, but barely. Now he loses it to Zemke as we watch from Acosta's perspective on O'Brien trying to give chase.
Trying to give chase, but as we've seen a couple of times, James O'Brien, when he gets out to the lead, he does not like to give it up. But I will say Matthew Long continuing to hold on to the back here. But let's not forget, 4th place is now tied for the biggest mover with Matthew Long. Both he and Ryan Goodell up 23 spots on the day.
Impressive stuff on a track where it's looked like it's hard to stay out of trouble. Watch from Goodell's perspective on the podium positions. And now from Matthew Long as well here, sitting in 3rd. Wow, he sent that one into the corner as down at the bottom, the 5 trying to run the low line, drifts up in front, but the speed off of turn 2. Here comes the 28, trying to get 2nd place away from Acosta.
Acosta's going to carry momentum on the high side, but we've seen it can get a little bit squirrely out there, but it looks like Acosta's got it for now. They cross over the line with Long just edging ahead, and they dive into 1.
I can report that we are actually at 16 minutes to go now. So we'll keep you abreast of the clock here, as unfortunately our timing and scoring not showing it quite accurately. Little contact there between the 14 and the 28.
Yeah, indeed, this is, and that's Richard Regan Jr. right up ahead, really being the bottle in all of this, and we got to jump back up to the battle for P2 because Matthew Long is not letting this die. He is moving this way and that, trying to find a way by Abner Acosta.
And they're starting to get a great shot on the 9 as well. Here comes both of them. Oh, back into the number 5. He catches the slide into the corner.
Holy moly, Joe, and not able to do it, but here comes Goodell as they checked up Matthew Long a little bit.
This has gotten rough now. Everybody is going all out to try and do what they can at the end of this race. The 28 drifts up as the 14 tries to get it underneath but can't carry the speed.
Not able to get it quite there, and now Goodell's going to have to re-rack here and try to figure things out a little bit, but we've got a yellow.
And it's Regan. The car gave up the ghost. The tires have had enough. And this one, he was 3 wide, contact with Daniels, and then got fully turned by the 43 of Chris Hudson. Here we go.
I can't say I'm exactly surprised, Joe. This has been an absolute hornet's nest here with Richard Regan right in the middle of it. Tries to hold it, contact with Daniels, down and hard into that wall.
Just slapped the inside. So we saw the 77 have a situation where it went south quickly, and now the 46 as well found things just unraveling underneath him. Although this one a little bit more due to his own decisions, I would say, as we get more pit stops just starting to crack off. Here's one more angle on the incident. Yeah, 3 wide off of 2 was just never going to work.
Yeah, and he was a little bit of a hapless passenger there right in the middle, just trying to keep it together a little bit by the looks of it, and just nowhere for him to go, as we're seeing a lot of the mid-pack coming down pit lane here from pretty much Hudson and Papineau on back. It's P10 on back all coming in, but the leaders opting to stay out.
Here's where it gets interesting. We haven't talked about it much this race, but now it may just be a factor. 5 total tire sets. I'm seeing O'Brien, Acosta, Goodell, Zemke, Daniels, and Walden. That's your top 6 with 1 set to go. Byron McDonald has been in 4 times. If he took a set each time, that means he is out. He has no more to put on the car. Taylor Stout is the last one who appears to have any tires other than Richard Regan Jr., because he saved 2 sets actually, and I think he's taking one of them right now. So even after this pit stop, Regan still has a set for himself, and we're hearing an end-of-line penalty for Kalen for speeding in pit lane.
Oh, and that is going to bite him. That is going to drop him. It looks all the way down. Looks like the 25. Also, we're hearing Danny Cervantes has a bunch of time, about 57 seconds of optional damage there.
Well, that is unfortunate, and unfortunate for Richard Regan Jr. is he's now got himself a lap down trying to take those repairs. So me talking about him having spare tires looks to be a bit of a moot point. We're down to 12 minutes to go now, and it most certainly is a timed race from this point on, as we've got 55 laps to go, and they certainly aren't running fast enough for that.
No, they certainly are not. The clock ticking down closer and closer to that checkered flag. But, Joe, on that last restart, they were coming fast and furious. I think these drivers know we are entering in the closing stages.
Oof, I'm seeing a little bit of irritated chatter out of Richard Regan Jr. complaining about the other drivers, driver standards, I should say, I guess, during that. But I can't really put that on the other drivers on this one. Richard put himself in that position, I feel like.
Yeah, really and truly. I mean, it was his option to stay out that long on those tires. Yes, they went 3 wide and kind of put him into a sandwich, but at the same time, he put himself in that own position.
Yeah, he was the one that put him into the quicksand. So you can't blame the sand for that when you find yourself sinking. So as we get ready to go racing once again, will this be the last restart? Are we going to get more yellows to slow us up? We still have time for a couple more if we get some more action like that one. And we do have cars on old tires up at the front here in the form of our top 8, essentially. Pace car is in, and there goes the 9. Green flag for James O'Brien, our leader this time now. Acosta giving chase, but he's got a big dent in the back of that car.
Yes, he does. We're side by side in the back there. I believe that is Zemke and Joshua Daniels, who's been able to get his way back up and forward. Daniels trying to get to the inside, but Zemke's going to deny him.
Top 5 for Josh Daniels now. That might be a 6th, though, because Walden looks very quick around the outside. And we get another caution. This one with Tom Massey in the number 50 or 05 machine.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers looking like they're sliding across the track there. Let's go and check out this replay. This is a Massey on your screen. They work down Thunder Alley, going into the back stretch, working through 3 and 4. So Massey, little bit of contact there, I think. Ooh.
Didn't think it's set for a spin cycle. Not sure who that second contact was with. Looks like the 62 of Kalen came together with him. Here's his perspective.
There you see the tip.
Just clips him, sends him right around. Okay, Josh Conker is in. How about Josh Conker? I said that I didn't think he was going to finish on the lead lap. He's still on the lead lap. He's in 18th right now. Very well done from the 54 to try to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, indeed, and he's really been doing a good job of just popping down pit lane whenever he can, letting that virtual pace car, or let the virtual pit crew bang on the car there to the best of their abilities, and so just trying to get that car slowly repaired over time.
There may have been a bit of netcode, that initial contact that caused this incident as they started to go 3 wide. Disappointing to see that cause it. So how long are we looking at these caution flags? It's reaching that stage where we got to consider, since we're not going to be going by laps, what the the last moment they could have for a caution before it ends under yellow.
I think cautions have been running about 4 minutes or so. Pace car lights are still on, so we've got at least one more lap here.
Indeed, and 8 minutes left to go on the clock, so they could maybe squeak one more in then if they're about 4 minutes, if they do get another caution. Otherwise, if it goes another minute or two under green and we get a caution, that will end this race. Again, we are now under a timed race if you're just joining us. So that 151 out of 200 you see was what the distance should have been, but they are going to a 90-minute limit in this series, as they do with every race in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. And it's been a wild one. I wouldn't call it a bad race, though. I've been thoroughly entertained by this one.
As have I, Joe. It's been absolutely action-packed. You've seen drivers working on the high side, on the low side, in the middle, all over the place.
Yeah, I definitely feel like even if they don't come back in real life, I want to see more series use this next gen at this track, because it has put on some fantastic moments for us here today as the lights now do go out on the pace car. Alrighty. We're getting ready to roll once again. Amazingly, still with 22 cars left on the lead lap out of our 32 starters here today, but we've lost a number of them to DNF's. Regan Jr. is going to be our latest that has called it quits. I can tell you that he has left the session and is out for today, so not going to be a good finish for him despite having a very fast car for most of it.
Yeah, indeed. And just a quick note, the track temperature's down by a couple of degrees here, so that may help a little bit of grip. It's down to about 91. It was up to about 97 earlier.
And with so little time left on the clock, you got to think that these leaders are now committed to these tires that they're on that have about 32 laps on them. But the good news for them is that many of them have been under caution, so at least they haven't put too much on there as the green flag is out. Pretty good start from O'Brien. Acosta has to try and defend with Goodell down to his inside as they start to pick up speed through 1 and 2.
They start to get going around here, and it looks like it's a pretty good battle. Goodell going to have to slot back in line, though. Oh, there's a good battle going on behind Adam Zemke.
Yeah, that's Matthew Long with Walden to his high side. Long's going to come out the victor on that one. Walden slots in behind him. Now the 57 in front goes high. Long stays low. Looking good on corner entry. What about exits? Great move.
Very good move. Oh, that's Hudson around.
Hilton gets caught up in it. 5 minutes left on the clock. It might be close on if that ends it. Oh, going for a huge tumble there, Baron Hilton. 43 involved. Looks like it starts between Hilton and Hudson. Yeah, there. And, oh, Hudson has DNF'd. He was DQ'd for too many incidents.
I wondered if that's what happened to him there, Joe, as that car just disappeared off of the track. We take another look at this here. You can see it just coming off of that corner, and that contact there with Baron Hilton off of the wall. Just an innocent victim there was Chris Hudson.
You said it's basically a short track today, and the short track racing bit, the 43. It was good up until that moment. Nice side-to-side racing. Car's still vying for position, but that run into the wall from the 00 is what triggered it, and then everybody behind having to scatter to avoid.
Oh, well,
and go ahead.
I was going to say, looking at the time here, I'm not sure. We may get a run to the line. We may not. It's going to be close.
Well, if they restart and get the white flag, it will be a green flag finish. But if they don't get a white flag pretty quickly, there's a chance they could get a caution, and it is over. But yeah, 3.5 minutes right now on the clock, and lights are still on. It takes them roughly a minute and 10 seconds to get around under caution. Getting a lot of talk amongst drivers. Conker, I think Conker just mentioned on the radio he's down about 50 horsepower, he thinks. And he sounded about as shocked as we were that he's still in as competitive of a position as he is up in 15th.
And lights still on the pace car, so we'll have at least one more lap here. Yeah. And, yeah, Josh Conker in 15th. As you said, Joe, very, very surprised at it. Just kind of laughing and joking about it on the radio.
Sometimes you got to stick with it and see what the race brings you, because you never know what's going to happen. In fact, didn't he not have the front bumper on that before? The team somehow found a front clip somewhere in the trailer, and they hauled it out, it looks like.
I guess so. I guess that's what they did to do that. But Conker making it work one way or the other.
Okay, we're coming down to 2 minutes here. If we don't get lights off, I think it is race over. But I do believe they are starting to line up like this is going to be one to go. All right, coming through the tri-oval portion and across the line. Clock is at 1:52 as they cross, and the lights are out. We are getting what looks to be about a 2-lap shootout.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to. So this could very well be a duel between O'Brien and Acosta. Maybe Goodell playing spoiler there for the private label team hype team. This is ostensibly going to come down to a green-white checker.
Indeed, and they usually have one on the cards for this series, but this is not an official one. Regardless, it'll effectively kind of work the same, as they would only have one green-white checkers in this series. Wow, James O'Brien, I will not doubt you anymore, sir. The 9 is leading this race with a good shot at the win, but he's going to have to hold off Abner Acosta. Look out for the 14 of Goodell, up from 27th. Matthew Long, up from 26th. And now they're restarting on the second row with what we believe is 2 laps to go. Pace car is in. The 9 is on it a little bit later than usual. And we got a good run from 3rd, thankfully, this time. No wheel spin for the 14. Not good news for the 5 as they fight once again.
Yeah, great runaway there, but there comes Goodell trying to fight down to the inside of Abner Acosta, trying to make it work, but it is all James O'Brien out front. Acosta gets the better run on the outside, and here comes Matthew Long.
Long had so much speed, but nowhere to go down the backstretch. White flag should be out this time by for James O'Brien as he comes across. The 5 still has second place, but it's a battle for third between Long and Goodell, and Long looks incredibly fast right now. He is absolutely lightning through this field. He's got much fresher tires, but he's going to run out of time. Is this going to be the checkered as they cross? James O'Brien has won today here for round 3 in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series.
And Matthew Long got Abner Acosta carrying the momentum around the outside. Matthew Long just eked him out by 24 thousandths of a second.
Unbelievable stuff. Here's that finish for Long. Those tires were the right call for him when he took them 15 laps ago. Didn't quite get him the win, but O'Brien, after taking 2 second places, steps 1 up to take a victory here today. So we're going to head to a quick break as he burns it down in celebration. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're going to give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Rockingham Speedway, and we are watching the keys to victory here for the number 9 on this last restart, managing to pull off on those old tires while everybody else behind him struggled. And that allowed him to scamper away before Matthew Long, with his fresh tires, was able to get through. You have to wonder if Long had been able to make quicker work of those two in front of him, if he maybe could have stolen this victory. But it was not to be, as the finish went to James O'Brien with the win here today, taking that car from 7th to 1st for the win, as Matthew Long was second from 26 and Abner Acosta was third. It was Ryan Goodell who also went up plenty of spots from 27th to 4th, as Adam Zemke finished 5th and Waldo Walden in 6th in the end. Luke Christian P7 after starting from 3rd. Besaw Jr. definitely involved in some incidents, and his car looked not that great at the end, but he managed to top 10 in 8th, Daniel Ali 9th, and Josh Conker somehow, after that big wreck early on, got back to a top 10.
Coming home in 11th, it was Danny Cervantes, followed by Eric Papineau, with Mark Kanelan in 13th and Byron McDonald 14th. Taylor Stout was 15th after running higher up in the field earlier in the race. Skip Gandy 16th. Joshua Daniels, your early leader, finished all the way back down in 17th after suffering damage, with Pat Harvey in 18th, Tom Amasi 19th, and Mike Witt one lap down in 20th.
21st went to Barron Hilton with Chris Hudson in 22nd. You've got CM Pennington 23rd. He did actually see the finish, but from there on down, it was DNFs today. A lot of drivers finding the rock just a little bit too tough for them. James O'Brien, though, is ready to talk to us after his win. But let's have a chat to see what he thinks of this race, because I have to say, James, you'll see it when you go back and watch the broadcast. We didn't really think much of your race in the early laps because it didn't seem like you were going anywhere. And next thing we know, you're vying for the win.
Agree completely. I don't know what happened. I don't know where it came from. It just, everything started falling into place. I was doing terrible. Car was handling terrible. I was just kind of hoping for a top 5, but you take them how you can get them.
Well, it's even weirder to hear you be just as surprised as us. I thought that maybe you were just kind of biding your time after things started to come your way. This one was filled with a lot of cautions, but with it's had plenty of fantastic racing. We saw drivers on pretty much any line that they wanted. What did it feel like in the car? Were you able to kind of pick where you wanted to go pretty easily?
For later in that run, near the end, I was surprised I was able to hold off Matt and Danny. They were really quick today, but it just showed that if you chose the proper line, you could definitely slow somebody down. And Matt was much faster than me on even the same tires. And I kept trying to back up the turns and kind of park it in the apex, so he had to back up too, and it would just kind of kill his run. I didn't really have a choice, so I was just kind of buying my time, especially with all the damage I got during the race. That I didn't think it was very much, but man, it killed the car.
Well, you can take some consolation in knowing you weren't the only one dealing with damage. I'm pretty sure everybody in the top 10 had at least a little bit out there. But this takes us obviously away from the Rock, which is not very often used, to Texas, which shows up pretty frequently. Do you feel like you'll like this next gen car a little better over at the cookie cutter?
I wish it had all the horsepower. I'm kind of excited for that, but I tend to like cookie cutter tracks. That's usually where I excel. Places like Rockingham, I enjoy driving more, but it's really kind of like an arrive and see how you do kind of thing, because you never know what everybody else has. So Texas, I'm more confident in what I have and what I can do there. So yeah, I'm a lot more excited.
Well, congratulations on a win. Finally managed to get one for your team after your teammate was the one getting the glory. Is there anybody you want to thank for today's win?
Yeah, everybody watching. It looked like, hopefully it was a fun race to watch. I know there was a lot of yellows, and that kind of sucks, but everybody there, you guys for broadcast and private label, Ethica, Moto Million, everybody that helps out on the team. Glad Richard's feeling a little better. And Tommy and Ty. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm still kind of surprised I pulled that off.
You can hear the shock in his voice. That was James O'Brien, our winner here today. As we now head off to second place, Matthew Long, DJ, is talking to the man that pulled a master's stroke on strategy at the end.
Matthew, I've got to start at the end. Talk me through that decision to take fresh tires, which got you the second place.
Yeah, well, we were running third there, and, I pretty much felt like I had that locked up, if I didn't pit. But the only way I felt like I was going to win that race was to make a little bit of a gamble. And the moment I saw a bunch of cars behind me start diving down pit road, I decided to go for it. It was just, Abner and James they're such smart drivers, and, they on those longer runs, really the best way to make a pass was on the outside, and they were blocking that pretty good, as they should. And I felt like I just needed tires there if I was going to win that race. So Yeah, unfortunately, had a couple of one too many cautions, and that was part of the gamble. I needed maybe 2-3 more laps to have a run at James there. But hey, picked up a second there, and we'll take that after the start to this season for sure.
Indeed, and talk me through that run to the line. I mean, the move you put on Abner there at the end, coming around the outside, was that a stick it and pray, or did you know it was going to stay up there?
I knew it was going to stick, yeah. And I actually got into the back of Abner earlier in the race, trying to do that same thing, kind of just throwing it in up towards the wall, and once the car sits, you can really stick it, especially with those fresh tires there. So, it was probably the best bet I had, was to get that big run on the outside. That, appreciate him giving me the space on exit. Otherwise, we'd probably have a wreck. But it was a fun race to the line for sure.
Well, we head to Texas next time out, and it's really the first time that we've seen these next gens in this series on one of the sort of standard intermediate ovals. How do you like the chances there? How do you think the car is going to be?
I think it's going to be the lower horsepower package, like the one we ran at Atlanta. So yeah, I really enjoyed this race because we were running the 675 horsepower, and we had to lift and brake, and there was a little bit more in terms of options, I would say. So I think you're going to see more like Atlanta, like more pack racing, drafting, that type of thing at Texas. But that turn 1 and 2 there being so flat should give some opportunity for passing. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Well, I know we're looking forward to it as well, Matthew, but anybody you'd like to thank for this run to second here today?
Yeah, all my friends and family that are watching. I know Kendall, Kyle, you guys are out there watching. I'm not sure who else is there, but I appreciate everyone watching. And my teammates, Taylor and Chris. Chris coming together with these paint schemes that look badass. I think they look awesome. So, I appreciate PRL, Charles, and you guys for putting on the show every week.
Well, when you guys put on races like this, we're happy to do it. I can tell you that right now. That was Matthew Long, your second place finisher here today from Rockingham. And Joe, I believe you've caught up with third place, Abner Acosta.
Indeed, and Abner was just hovering around those top spots all race long. Didn't quite ever see it get up to the lead, but it looked like the car had pace today.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Yeah, kind of upsetting that I didn't even get to lead a lap. I kind of just stuck there. I had a chance there at the end with Richard on the old tires, but almost killed him, backed off, and James got by, and that was the end of that pretty much. But yeah, overall good race, good team points. It was a lot of people got their cars wrecked, so I guess I can't complain.
Yeah, and you didn't get away clean either. You definitely had a big dent in the rear end. It seemed like, especially in the last maybe 50 laps, things got kind of rough out there. What do you think was causing drivers to suddenly get so antsy?
I think it's probably just everybody realizing it's so hard to pass, and yellow's coming out. So like if you don't make your moves, yellows will keep coming out, and then you kind of get stuck. I think that's pretty much what happened to Matt Long, because he was so fast, but just getting by people, it's very difficult here.
Well, it's commiserations that it wasn't a better finish, but still a podium kind of turns things around. First two races really didn't go your way. Are you still feeling at least satisfied?
Yeah, I think first race was fine. Second race I was leading, and I guess team communication there, I got turned. I don't want to jinx it, but I definitely want to thank my ISP today. I don't think I blinked. I don't know if I did. I don't know if you guys saw me blink or not, but as long as my internet stays steady and stays strong, it is going to be a successful season for me.
All right. Congratulations on a podium. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before you go?
Yeah, I want to thank Private Label Team Hype, everybody on the pits, calling the race, you guys at GSRC, PRL, Ethica, again, my ISP today. And that's it. Have a good night.
That was Abner Costa, P3. And that's going to close out our interview. So we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors before we go, which includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today with DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're down there so you don't miss a moment. They are heading off to Texas in the next week, but we will not be there, unfortunately. We will be back for Gateway Round 5. That'll be Sunday, January 27th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.